Hello, first. I hope everyone is doing well. Welcome back to the third episode now of our series, Changing the Game, where we're bringing you some of the most exciting superstars in the wide variety of sports and play. And we are uncovering the STEM behind those areas, sharing different ideas for solutions that you all can come up with. And also, sharing some spaces where there's a lot of need for STEM in these spaces, and also careers for you all in the world of sports and fitness. So we are going to have a awesome special guest today, Michelle Warnky, who I'm now. So she's here with us and should be hopping on any second now. I hope you all are excited to hear from Michelle. There we go. Hey, Michelle.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. How are you?
Awesome, doing well. Just had a delicious dinner.
Nice. Awesome. So now you're ready. You're all stomach
That's right, all
full,
fired up.
ready. That's good. So I was sharing with the audience a little bit that we're having you on the show. Some of the audience may know you from multiple buzzers on American Ninja Warrior. Some may know you from even further back in other sports that you've been a part of. So we're excited to have you on, and we're excited to be able to uncover some of the science and technology behind these spaces that you've been a part of.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Good to see you all.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate that. So a lot of us know you as that person that hit multiple buzzers, but where did that all begin? I mean, you obviously didn't just hop on the show and we're like automatically amazing. How did you build up that athletic background?
Yeah, I started out, I was always outside, always athletic as a kid. We'd play outside like 8 hours a day as a kid. So it was always, just constantly active. And then as I got older, I did cross country and track. And then we also did rock climbing. My parents, we would do one sport every month as a family. And so initially we started out as bowling, and then a climbing gym opened up, and they're like, hey, I bet you guys would like this. So we tried that out and started doing that. So climbing and running. And then I ended up hearing about Ninja. I came back. I was overseas in Kazakhstan for 5 years, and I came back and had some friends like, hey, have you seen the show? You would absolutely love it. So I looked it up and fell in love with it.
That's awesome. So from bowling to rock climbing, that's an interesting transition there. But I love it. Talk to us a little bit about that time in Kazakhstan. Did you speak any other languages before heading over there? And how has that experience in learning new cultures and meeting people from different spaces kind of shaped who you are today?
Yeah, for sure. I learned French in high school. And so I took, I think, 4 years of French. So, decent, a lot of people, if you take 4 years in school, you might not say you know that much. But I knew a solid amount. And then I went overseas, Kazakhstan. They speak Russian and Kazakh there.
Okay.
So I taught English over there, and then I took 3 hours of Russian every day during the week, so Monday through Friday. 15 hours a week of Russian, and then I'd listen to headphones with all the things we learned. But initially, French kept coming out because, my brain, it was like foreign language, French. And then now, if I try to speak French, Russian comes out. It's totally switched. So, and it was amazing just to learn. One thing I really remember is cultures are very different, and there's so many awesome aspects of every culture. But people in general are the same. And, it was cool to notice, we all have the same needs, wants, desires, even though our cultures might be so different. In Kazakhstan, there's so much more community based. And so, for example, my roommate and we both would go from our apartment to the office, and it's, like a 45-minute trek to get from the apartment to the office. And maybe I wanted to go earlier, so I would go half an hour, 45 minutes before she would, and then she would come. And one day my Russian teacher's like, why don't you guys go together? And it's like, well, I want to do this at this time, and she wants to do this at this time. She's like, yeah, but you're going the same place. Why would you not arrange your schedules to do it together? So it really taught me how like naturally individualistic I am, and really gave me a new awareness of more community-based things.
Okay. That's awesome. So I've noticed that, you know, in the chat, we've already had some people share where they're from. We've had a Brazilian team in here. Someone had their birthday at your gym in Ohio. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, Ellie.
So throw in your flags or your cities, your states, whatever you guys want in the comments. Let us know where you're coming from. But I think that's such a good point, is that, you know, we have so much more in common than we realize, right? And who we are as people. Our cultures might have these little differences, but at the core, we're still, you know, very similar. And so I know we're going to talk about the kind of STEM and engineering and tech behind Ninja Warrior, but this was a significant portion of your life, right? So is there any ideas you had of like how tech could help make that translation or that learning of language easier for you? Is that something that you had to challenge? I know our high school teams, they're competing in alliances, and sometimes they might not speak the same language as the other people in their alliance, or they may be, you know, trying to strategize and learn and scout another team and not have any idea of how to communicate with them. So have you put any thought into that? I'm throwing that one at you a little side.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. I'm so passionate about this. There's actually many ninjas that I've done Russian lessons with.
Okay.
And so it was actually really cool. I'm going to move over here a little bit. So it was actually really cool. I was taught this new style, or I don't even know if it's a new style, but basically learning the way a baby would. So in all of our classes in school, you're taught like grammar, and you're taught, I don't know, just all these things on pages.
Mm-hmm.
In Russian, we literally didn't speak the first 3 weeks. We just listened, because that's what a baby would do. They would listen, 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 listen. And then you would point at things and like, Stina, Stina, Stina. And then, Gdzie Stina? Where's the Stina? Where's the wall? And then you would point. And it actually is amazing how quickly your brain picks things up as you, instead of having a flashcard and translating it from Russian to English and then switching it in your mind, you see that object and you instantly think, like, within a few weeks, I was already starting to dream in Russian. And I was not fluent by any means. You know, it's fluent in a language if you dream. It's like, no, I was just hearing Russian all the time. But so it was really amazing how, as you communicate and you just immerse yourself in that language and you listen. So I would encourage everyone, you know, who's working with people of other cultures, other languages, listening, and then a lot of demonstration, like pointing at things, you know, really making it obvious more so. And then a funny thing too is, so often if you tell people in Russian, oh, I don't know Russian, but they hear you speaking Russian, like, they don't understand, because they're like, but you're talking to me in Russian. You know, so another thing is giving grace to people that don't know your language as well. Once you learn another language, you're so much more gracious to anyone that doesn't know your own language as much. So, like, because I taught English, if I was speaking a beginner class, I would talk much more slowly. You know, and so things like that, you just learn to adapt. So I always encourage people, you know, be gracious with someone who doesn't know your language.
Yeah, that's super insightful. So I guess to summarize a little, if you're in an alliance with teams from other countries, try to visualize and show the object and say that, so that then it's, you know, a little bit easier for their mind to connect to the object versus just trying to say the words. That's awesome. And I just noticed Jamie Ron gave you a thumbs up, so shout out.
Oh, hey, Jamie.
Thanks for joining, Jamie. And does Jamie speak any other languages?
I actually don't remember.
That's a good question. We'll have to find out.
Yeah, we'll have to find out. Happy 3rd anniversary, Jamie.
Congrats. Such an insightful tip for students that are collaborating with teams from other countries, or even just want to help build first in other countries and bring what they've benefited from first to these spaces. So that's been super insightful. How about now? Let's move more now towards Ninja, right? So at the beginning, you came in early on, and you started designing and building obstacles at a gym that didn't have anything yet. So, how did your kind of design mind start creating some of these things that maybe didn't exist yet, or you weren't commonly seeing in gyms? Where did your kind
Right.
of thought process go there?
Yeah. Yeah, because I started out season 5. Most people didn't know about Ninja. Usually people would be like, "Oh, is that kind of like the Wipeout show?" You know? It's like, well, it's a little more serious version than that. But yeah, I took woodworking and I took CAD in high school.
Okay.
And I actually took a building design class in college. These were all random, just like fun classes I took, not realizing how much they would benefit me in the future. So as I started building, I actually was working with a climbing gym, Vertical Adventures in Columbus, and was just showing them videos of going to Movement Lab in New Jersey and trying obstacles, and was like, "Hey, we should put this here. We should put this here." And so as we built, I had other engineers around me because I took woodworking, but I'm not like super experienced. So actually, Jamie Ron was the person who sent me the warped wall blueprints. And we designed that. We actually messed up on the curve of it and had to like redraw it and everything. But yeah, it was a very unique time of like no one really knew what was happening. I made a cargo net from old climbing ropes and just looked up how to do knots. So I definitely used a lot of information on the web and information other ninjas gave me, and then also a lot of CAD drawings and info that engineers had that I didn't know.
That's great to hear CAD, because a lot of the students on the teams, a lot of you are out there designing CAD pieces for your robot. You can use it in a wide variety of spaces, inside and outside of FIRST. So if you want to create your own ninja gym or design other great, exciting things, that those CAD skills are going to come in handy in and outside of FIRST. Do you remember what CAD software you used? One of the students is asking that question.
Wow. So just so you know, I'm 36, and that would have been when I was like 17. Wow. So I don't, but actually we had to draw most CAD by hand. And then once we got it approved, we could do it. So right now, actually, we're designing our new gym. Movement Lab is expanding to a new gym, and we are using SketchUp because it's free.
Yeah.
But I'll actually be on SketchUp tomorrow morning working on designing different obstacles.
Nice. Again, so cool to see different avenues for the students to use the skills that you're gaining out here. So that's great. And then when I want to throw in a question here that came from the audience, from a FIRST student, from Caltran 2410. Do you see a place for automated obstacles in AW or NNL? So for those who don't know, AW is American Ninja Warrior, NNL is National Ninja League, which is one of the leagues that has competitions across the country and the world, just not on TV.
Man, wow. I'm trying to think. There's been, I don't know if you count this as an automated obstacle. There's like magnetic obstacles. So as soon as you grab something, the magnet releases it. I honestly can't think of any. I'm sure there might be, but definitely the ring chaser was a very new style this year. And we all, I wanted to try it so badly. It looked really cool. But I think we'll see more of them, but I don't think has been a lot so far.
Yeah, I feel like they are getting more and more complex. Pulley systems and ring chaser having the mechanism to release the ring that then roll down a ramp. So there's a lot of kind of basic physics principles in obstacals. But I don't think you're right. I don't think we've seen anything yet. What about like an obstacle reset? Maybe if there's an automated reset, have you seen anything like that, or would that benefit your gym?
Yeah, actually, so on the show, for example, man, the log grip where you have to like barrel hug a log and
Oh
then
yeah.
roll it down, or not roll it down, you just slide down.
Yep.
Someone literally has to like pull that back up. And so think about doing that, when we filmed at night from like 9 or 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. That would get really tiring. So we talk about the crew that works on Ninja Warrior. They are amazing. The fact
Yeah.
that they all night just have to reset obstacles, climb up truss, climb down truss. So yeah, automatic stuff would be amazing.
Yeah, I can't remember what obstacle it was, but I remember seeing someone just pulling the rope like over and over after every run.
Yeah, that's actually a really good idea. You guys should come up with obstacles where it's just an automatic reset. You press a button or whatever. Yeah, that'd be amazing.
So Caltran also said we can hook you up with a couple first teams to collab on automated obstacles. So
That'd be
that
sweet.
could be a lot of fun, and love to see first students designing something that could be used on the show someday. And there actually is an American Ninja Warrior design challenge. So if any of you first students out there have ideas for things that could go on the show, you can submit it. I believe they put it out at the end of every season, if I'm not mistaken. Do you know?
Yeah,
It's like
sometime
towards the
during
end
the
of the
season
season.
or at the end. Yeah. Hmm.
So it'd be great to
And I
see
mean,
a
gyms will always take new designs.
there you go. So if you have a cool design, you can submit it to Michelle's gym.
That's
Um,
right.
so let's talk more about the behind the scenes of the course, because you did mention there's a need for additional STEM and engineering and maybe the reset of obstacles, but there already is a lot into designing the course. I mean, I've gone to a couple where, for example, the Tacoma Dome last year doing testing, and there was just all kinds of lifts and trusses, and each obstacle almost had, sometimes counterweights and things.
Right.
What have you seen that kind of stand out there? And it really is like a science to put a course together.
Right, right. A huge thing is the testing process. So days and days before, and honestly, months before, there's a testing team that's actually their job. And then as it gets closer to time, they'll set up the course, and then they'll have volunteers like you, and I've done it as well, and so many others. Pretty much once you fall, you can test, or if you're not competing that year, you can test.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's a lot of trial and error, which is true of, so many things in this field and countless other fields, and just life in general is trial and error. You don't get it your first try. You have to test all the things. So, for example, all the balance obstacles, they'll run people through. If every single tester is making it through, they're going to tweak it and make it harder, maybe make it spin a little more, make it farther apart. And then if all of a sudden they make it too hard and everybody's falling, then they're going to tweak it again and, make it a little easier. And so finding that balance of like, okay, some people get through, not everyone gets through, is kind of what they want. But yeah, just so much trial and error.
Yeah, I've been a victim of one of those early guinea pig testing where they had it too hard, and I definitely got wet. But that's a really good point that I think connects well to what you all are doing as first students, is that you're not going to get it right the first time. Like, there's a lot that needs to be tweaked in your code, in the way you set up your robot, in the way you collaborate as a team, and that's part of the process. I feel like sometimes we watch the show and everything's perfect, and the athletes are amazing, but there's so much trial and error, so much kind of, I guess, call it just getting comfortable with failure, that allows you to have that awesome production at the end.
Right. And failure is not fun, as we all know, but it's part of the process,
Exactly. I'm going to shout out quick, Lauren Ball's also in chat, and I know he does a lot of obstacle design. So if you have any comments, Lauren, throw them in there, or any questions. We've got students from all over the world that are designing things that will impact the world of sports and play this year. So it's a good audience for you, Lauren. And you've done rock climbing too. And so let's talk about like solving a problem. So for those of you who haven't rock climbed before, the bouldering routes are usually called a problem. Right. And one of the things I've noticed is just sometimes you'll sit there at the same problem and you will just fail and fail and fail, and then you get a little bit closer. But it's like fun. It's part of the, I think, because we realize it's part of the process. Have you seen that kind of in your climbing journey, and same with Ninja Warrior?
Yeah, for sure. And it's, you know, when you work so hard at something, it makes victory that much sweeter. You know, so if you got something the first try, it's like, oh, whatever, you know, random thought. So, you know, my first year on season 5, I failed on Ninja Warrior. And then season 6, you know, I went home, cried, was so sad. And then, you know, I was like, I knew, you know, afterwards I knew, because I went pretty early. So I realized later what I should have done. But it's live and learn, you go on. So next year I got a buzzer, but it was Megan Martin's first year. And like she got a buzzer, but she had no idea what it was. She's like, "Oh yeah, I got a buzzer, whatever," you know. And like Casey and I are like, "That's awesome, you're amazing." And she's like, "Cool, you know, whatever." So you know, it wasn't as special to her because she hadn't failed yet. And so that's one thing I love in climbing too, which it is very special to her now. You know, now you know, we've all tasted failure. So,
Yeah.
but in climbing, there's been so many routes that you just work so hard on, and you'll like, you know, sometimes fall early, sometimes fall late. And the only time that you really feel like the only time I feel completely sad is if they change the route before I get it.
Like,
And
no.
so I'm like, no, I would have worked on it more. So
Yeah.
that's one thing I encourage you guys, like just keep working on it and like do not give up because it's easy to get discouraged and like, you know, there's so many times you hit the exact same spot and you keep falling, keep falling, keep falling. And maybe it's, hey, you have to watch someone else do it who's better or someone else do it who's more creative than you or, you know, it's not bad to learn from other people.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it's just, hey, take a step away, come back to it, whatever it might be. And so learning from those times is huge.
Yeah, and Leia 438 here saying FRC is all about trial and error. Exactly, just as Michelle was telling you with climbing or Ninja Warrior, the competitions that you are a part of, the challenges that you're trying to solve, trial and error, and kind of learning from those failures is huge. I think you kind of touched on it a little there on learning from other teams, but someone asked here, it's NP FTC Robotics, so it's a FTC team. Any tips on first-time teams? So that getting maybe how do you get used to that trial and error from the beginning, especially maybe if you've been used to areas where failure isn't always as accepted or understood. And do you have any tips for some of the rookie teams out listening in?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one thing is I feel like being quick to listen and learn. And so I know for me, especially when I first went to the Ninja Gym, I already had a lot of the skills, but I hadn't done a lot, you know, I hadn't been on obstacles like this before. And so listening to everyone and taking in their advice, and sometimes their advice will work, sometimes it won't. But being willing to listen, you know, so often we think we have all the answers. So I always encourage people, listen from those around you, learn from those around you. I don't know exactly how it works if you're competing with other people too. But at the same time, like you can still learn from competitors and you can still, you know, have friendly competition. And I mean, do research. That's, you know, another thing that I am not always good about is you can look up videos of people on obstacles and see how they did it. You know, if I know, hey, we're gonna have this obstacle today, I can look up, hey, season 3, they had this obstacle, blah blah blah. And so similar in your area of whatever you're working on, see if there's anyone else who's done something similar and learn from what they did.
Absolutely. First has this term called cooperation. So it's cooperation and competition
I
together.
love it. It's like
And I
Ninja.
feel like that's so true in the ninja community as well. It's almost like the ninja community versus the course. And you can be really good friends with someone that you're competing against and learn from each other and help each other out. I'm sure that's kind of how you've grown yourself as well, right?
Right, for sure. And I mean, it's like you are, you know, you are competing against each other, but first and foremost, you're trying to learn and get better at the course. And so that's what's most important.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes you stronger, right? So
Yes.
competing against someone that may, for example, Megan was a super climber, right? Or another athlete that may be really good at balance. You bounce off each other.
Right, right. And that's what I love with Ninja Warrior is each person has something that they're extra good at.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember hanging out with ninjas at a gym and some were amazing climbers, some were so good at balance, some were good at like holding this position, whereas others were good at just like the dead hang.
Okay.
And so everyone had different skills and everyone could learn, like no matter how good someone was, they could always learn something from someone else.
Okay, absolutely. And so that's what, teams, as you're building alliances or as you're just trying to grow as a team in general, reaching out to other teams that have success in other areas, and then also helping out other teams that don't have the same success in areas that you may have or strengths in those areas. So I want to go back a little bit to when you were talking about Megan and some of you. I think you mentioned Casey as well. You and Casey were the first to hit a buzzer in the same season. How have you played a role as a game changer in the sense of blazing trails for other women in the sport? Has that been a big part of your mission here? And what do you think is important in helping grow and make the sport more accessible to people?
Yeah, it's been kind of like almost like an accidental mission. Because I just came in like, I love this. This is awesome. And when I watched it on TV, I only saw men. And it was like, are women actually allowed to do this? Like I don't know if am I allowed to try out? And so we actually freeze framed a Vegas picture that had 100 ninjas. And like we looked through all the faces, all the little small faces, and we found 3 women out of 100 that were in season 4 in Vegas.
Okay.
And I actually had several people like, Michelle, you're strong, but I don't know if you're that strong. I was like, well, I want to see, I want to try. And so I would start out going to events and it'd be like 40 guys and me. Or I would drag a friend and the friend would kind of do a little bit, but not really that much. And so it's been amazing to see, when Casey, myself, and Megan hit the buzzer in season 6, it has blown up since then. It's crazy. And so now going to events, it's like, there's a lot of women here. This is amazing. And so one thing that's been cool is finding somehow the balance of training elite athletes, but at the same time welcoming newcomers, we have so many people, women and men, come to our gym who have never done a pull-up before. And so teaching them, we have a lady, she was, I think, 46 at the time. She came in, couldn't do any pull-ups, and she ended up being able to do 26 pull-ups.
Wow.
Right?
That's impressive for anyone.
So it's like it's cool that just like your body can change and grow and adapt, your mind can too. I love telling people, so many people are like, I'm just bad at balance. Like, I've always been clumsy, I've always been bad at balance. And it's like, well, do you actually know balance? That's muscles, and you can train those muscles so that you're better at balance. Most people assume, it just will never change. And so I feel like the same thing with your mind. You could be like, I'm just not good at that. It's like, well, if you take the time and learn it, and it's accessible enough so that you can come in as a beginner and feel welcomed. That's really important. So yeah, I hope, you guys, I'm sure, are doing a great job with that. And I love seeing that happen in Ninja as well.
I think that's a great example for students out there on teams that maybe started out on the mechanical design or started with coding or didn't want to take on a technical role at first, but just taking the courage to go out and try some of those other areas and seeing if it's a passion of yours. And then for the leadership on your teams, making sure that you're making, as you mentioned, Michelle, those areas accessible for anyone to try out. Because that person who couldn't do a pull-up on day one or who had no idea how to program anything could end up being able to do 26 pull-ups I don't know what the
Right.
voting equivalent of 26 pull-ups is, but it's really good.
Right.
So just making sure that we're creating accessible spaces for people to grow in, I think is a great space. And I think you've shown a great example for helping people come in and then also being that kind of role model and example. So for any young girls who may be joining a team or thinking about joining a team, do you have any advice or tips for them when they are maybe the first and only or the first of few? What kept you going during those times? And both for the participant, but then also for the team, how can others make that environment more welcoming? I wanted to hear
Right.
from both sides.
Yeah, for sure. I know for me, for example, it helped that I grew up around a lot of guys and like played football with the guys and stuff. So I was used to being around a lot of guys. But at the same time, like there's certain things that, you know, if I try to communicate, it just doesn't make as much sense to guys as it might to girls. And so for me, I think starting out, it was like, okay, this is cool. Women are allowed to do it, so I want to try it. I'm going to bring a friend with me. You know,
Excellent.
when I went to the first Ninja Gym in New Jersey, now my business partner, Chris Wilczewski, and Movement Lab in New Jersey, I had a friend and she was like, sure, I'll drive with you 9 hours to go hang out
Normal
at the
things.
Ninja Gym for the weekend. And then I went to Baltimore and did the same thing, brought another friend and she came with me. And actually a lot of the guys remembered because she tried stuff with me and kept trying and she didn't get the warped wall, but she worked so hard at it and all the guys were like, this is amazing, keep it up. And so just I would encourage you, if you feel lonely at all or if you feel like, hey, you're the only one of your group that is, you know, whatever certain culture or male, female, whatever, you know, bring a friend. You know, I don't know exactly the structure, but you know, share with others. And then on the flip side, you know, being the first female gym owner and being on a board that I was the only female initially, sometimes it did feel like I'm in a man's world, you know, like I'm trying to explain something and it doesn't quite make sense. And so us just giving each other lots of grace, you know, me trying to explain my perspective, them trying to explain their perspective, and just again back to listening and really communicating well and giving each other a lot of grace through it. And I think that can make your team even stronger because the more opinions, the more ideas you have, the better.
Awesome. Yeah, it's great to see the diversity of thought, how that can help make the team better. Let's throw in a couple. We've got a lot of questions coming in, and so keep putting them in here, guys. One easy one. Are you on the new season of A&W?
I am. I actually was just shown Monday. Did not go well. I'll try not to spoil it.
Let's just say there was some challenges, but there's also some great news. There's a little bit of
right. Well, so here's actually another lesson you can take from it.
Okay.
So I was on a swing, and the swing was a pretty heavy swing. So you had to jump to it, make it swing, and then jump to the platform. If you know physics, the swing's not going to go any farther the longer you're on the swing. But for me, for some reason, the first swing towards the platform, my brain was just so focused because last year and a few other years in Vegas, I was like, hey, I don't have much time. The course is really fast. The time limit's fast. I got to get off this obstacle. And so I would rush it. And so as I was about to jump, I just remember thinking, Michelle, don't rush it. And so I stopped. And then I killed my swing. And so, but that's one thing to encourage you guys is sometimes your past failures can affect your success in the future, you know, so don't get so focused on what you've done wrong in the past. Learn from it, but also move on from it. But yes, so I was on, but I also, as Jay alluded to, my husband and I, we got married this year and we want to start a family. And so the hope is to get pregnant sometime in the next year. If I do, then I'll take a little break from Ninja. If we don't, I'll be back hopefully.
Great. Yeah, and so I actually got to test that obstacle in Tacoma last year too, and it makes a lot of sense. And what you're showing is that having an understanding of the physics of the obstacle, the physics of how your body moves, can actually make you a better ninja, whether you become stronger or not. So it's
Right.
really cool to see how maybe, using, as we call it first, it's like the sport of the mind, right? Using your brain and your knowledge of science to compete at a higher level. I think it's pretty
Mhm.
cool. But then also, like you mentioned, using the strength of your mind to be able to forget those failures and learn and move forward.
Mhm.
That's awesome. So one of the other questions we had in here is, so do you design Ninja Warrior courses for the show or for your gym? Um, and then can you talk a little bit about how, what kind of thought process goes into that? And maybe what are some of the challenges that you face? I mean, you only have so much space, you only have so many materials. So what are maybe some ideas that some of these teams can start working on to help you better design your gym or your obstacle?
Right? Yeah. So Ninja Warrior, the show itself, does have what was mentioned already. They have a design challenge for obstacles. So you guys can actually design an obstacle. You can make an automatic or an automated obstacle and send that into the show. Um, but besides that, we don't design things unless they see a really cool obstacle at a gym.
Mm-hmm.
You might see it on the show the next year. We've
Yeah.
in the past. um, but yeah, so another thing that I think would be really cool, and I would encourage you guys to potentially look into as a project,
Okay, listen
is
in, guys.
right. As a gym owner, you're all, whatever your space is for that gym, you have to try to be as efficient as possible with your space. You got to try to figure out where can everything go that will make it the most ideal possible. We had so many people. Our last space was 3,000 square feet for the actual gym space. And I had countless people when they'd come in and they'd be like, oh, it's smaller than I thought, but wow, you guys have fit a lot in here. And so as you consider different projects, one thing I was thinking about that would be really cool is coming up with some kind of program that kind of knows the square footage of different obstacles. And if you were to put in, hey, I have this 10,000 square foot gym, it's shaped like this. What's the best design possible, making the most use of all the space?
Okay.
And seeing if the program could literally help you design.
That sounds like a little bit of industrial engineering, optimizing the space inside the gym. Maybe even, let's say you have like a list of obstacles and say, I definitely want a warped wall. I want wing nuts. I want a salmon ladder. And then, whatever you pick in there, it spits out the
Mhm.
ideal kind of configuration or what could be combined together, what needs to be separate. I think that's a pretty cool idea for teams to think about. And maybe you can use that technology for designing other things too. So this could be your start. Start it with helping Michelle design her next space. But then also, where else can you apply that? Whether that's, I don't know, building a community or building how you fill out a space within a room. I think there's a lot of cool ideas there. I'm personally, we're buying a house right now in the process. I'm
Oh
going to build a
yeah,
couple of backyard things. So I'm going to need
nice.
to maximize my space because my fiance gave me a certain section of the yard that will be my ninja section. So
I
yeah, I
love
might
it.
use this technology as well. So if any teams work on it, please send it both to Michelle and I.
Yes, yes. I love it because it's kind of the flip for me. I'm like, so Joel, could we put this here?
Yeah, that's good. And then in terms of competitions that you've hosted at your gym, is there like, you mentioned a little bit with Ninja Warrior and how they're switching things up. Do you have to build any kind of thought process into how many failure rates you want? Do you track any of that information? Obviously, if someone's coming in for their first competition, you don't want everybody to lose on the first obstacle.
Mhm.
How do you manage designing that?
Right. And that's where we do a lot of trial and error. We actually sometimes we'll act like a little kid. Like,
Okay.
we'll like squat down and like do. Like, can I fix this if I have arms this long? And so, we'll try to simulate how someone might be if it's their first time, if they're younger, if they're smaller. Obviously you can't design, act like you're taller. But so another thing that I think would be really cool is, and I think people are starting to come out with this, but obstacles that are so easily adjusted for the level of difficulty. Okay. So that's one thing actually been a big discussion across leagues, across sports, across, all the ninjas, is should males and females compete on the same course, and different leagues have decided different things. But that's one that in some leagues you can adjust certain things if it's a female running, or, if you have young adults and then you have adults and you want to make a quick switch. And so another thing you could design is coming up with obstacles that are super quick switches, whether it's, hey, salmon ladder, bam, take out this rung, take this rung over here, whatever it could be, make this longer, make it shorter. I think we're starting to see a little of that, but I think it'd be cool to see even more.
Okay. That's it. Great. So another challenge for teams out there, how can you make obstacles quickly interchangeable? Maybe modular is a good word for it. Put some thought into that. So we've got a team here, FTC team 14423, the Robocorns. I'm assuming that's a play on robot and unicorns.
Nice. That's awesome.
Can we potentially collaborate with you on designing an obstacle? So if
nice.
Let's say some of the teams take on some of the ideas you've shared today, whether that's the software to design a ideal space, or it's designing automated obstacles or modular obstacles. Should they just tag you on Instagram with their prototype? Do you have a website they should submit it to? What's the best way for them to kind of grab your attention to maybe implement that in your gym?
Right. There's a few ways. I am okay on social media. If you tag me, I will see it. And so, like, the fact that I'm seeing this right now, I'll kind of be looking out for it. If you were to tag me on it, that'd be awesome. Another way is you can go to our gym's website, which is mlabohio.com. And that has like our email, our information. If an email comes into our gym and it's for me, addressed to me, I'll see that as well. But yeah, Instagram definitely works too.
Okay, so any obstacle designs or any ninja-related innovations that you teams have out there, it's a good way to get it there. And then maybe if Michelle likes it, she'll test it out in her gym, and that'd be a really cool story maybe to come back and see what came out of this conversation. Tag me in them too, because I'm interested in building some in my yard. So maybe even if it doesn't get used in Michelle's gym, maybe I'll take on a prototype or two. But that's great. It just shows the different ways that this kind of gets influenced. And has there been an obstacle that you just are like, why did someone design this? Like, I know, for example, the wing nuts, which were designed by Kevin Carbone, have changed the game in the sport. And I know some people love him and some people hate him for it, right? So is there one for you that it's like, man, this is creative, but I don't like it? Or vice versa. Is there an obstacle that someone designed that you just loved, and kind of why?
Right. Well, actually, so funny story, multiple funny stories about the wing nuts, but the wing nuts is one that I initially tried with Kevin Carbone at his gym, or not his gym, but at Ninja Quest in Atlanta. And it was a much harder version of it, but I tried it for like an hour and a half and I couldn't get anywhere on it. Wow. And like Kevin's trying to give me all this advice, it is just not working. And I remember being like, man, if we see this on the show, I am in trouble. And so, of course, the next year we had it. But I went days early and tried it at a gym, and finally something clicked. I actually watched a video of another ninja doing it, and I noticed something that they did. And I was like, oh, I need to do this. And I adjusted what I was doing, and then it clicked. And then now I love them. But,
Perfect.
but there are jokes among some ninjas, like some ninjas fell on the wingnuts and snapback, which is also Kevin design, which is you
Yeah.
start here and then as you're switching, the thing drops. And so some ninjas have joked that Kevin's killed them twice.
Multiple times, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I personally love, man, I mean, I really like the Iron Maiden. I got to do
Mhm.
that on Team US or Team Matt for the All Stars
Yeah.
team. And I love holding like lock off, as they call it in climbing. So that's probably one of my favorites. But I know most ninjas will say they hate the rolling log, where you basically grab a log and then it
And
spins
it's
you
been
like that, and you're dizzy for 30 seconds to a minute
and
after.
you're trying to go fast and not run off
You're
the
like,
cliff.
oh.
Yeah. So that shows again the design, the wing nuts. For those who don't know, it's kind of changed the sport because most of the time you're used to throwing your body forward. Now you've had to
Mhm.
swing on this bar and turn your body sideways. So it's cool how this
Mhm.
design, although it was difficult for many, has kind of revolutionized even movement within the sport.
It
And
has.
then, that just makes an impact on changing the game. And
Mhm.
so it's exciting to see both the pros and the cons of that. And I feel like
Right?
since every year the theme changes and the game changes, that's kind of what you're preparing yourselves for, is innovating and adapting when things change. And things are changing
Mhm.
faster and faster nowadays. So first is really preparing you for technology that moves faster and for a world that continues to change quickly. Um,
Mhm.
so one of my favorite questions to ask, and this is, you've given us some really good ideas already for teams, and I think for those of you who have thought of going down that path, not just Michelle's gym, but if there's a gym nearby in your city, state, or
Mhm.
country, I'm sure they'll be more than happy to hear obstacle ideas.
Yeah.
But for you, Michelle, if you could have a magic wand and ask one of these amazing groups of students to design something for you in the sport that you feel would be game changing, what would that be for you?
Yeah. So I was thinking about this, and I think one of the coolest things would be to have a computer program where you can put in an obstacle and, put in your height, your weight, um, just different aspects of yourself or whoever you want it to simulate. And it can literally simulate a person on the obstacle and what is the most ideal way to move through that obstacle. Because that's a huge thing
Okay.
in Ninja. You want to be as efficient as possible. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you can do less swings, if you can do one big swing versus 5 small swings or whatever
Mm-hmm.
the case may be, the more efficient you are. And then when teaching people at a gym, instead of having to constantly demo for each group or whatever, being able to show someone a computer program and saying, here is what it should look like, and this is your ideal movement. I think that would be amazing.
That would be incredible. So, I guess a simulation of a course or individual obstacles. Teams, if you want to work on something like that, that could be pretty impactful, especially for, like you mentioned, for people who are just getting started and trying to understand, might not understand how to move their body properly, and to
Mm-hmm.
make them, as we mentioned earlier, understanding the physics, understanding the angles, the efficiencies on a course can make you so much better without even having, gain any additional strength physically.
Yeah. And actually, one other thought I had, if someone takes this idea and someone wants a different idea, my husband actually was talking about this one, and I was like, I think I've heard people talk about it. I don't know if I've seen it, but I also do obstacle course races, as Jay does as well. And whether it's in a gym or at an obstacle course race, you know how you have race chips
Yes.
um, for a start and a finish race. It'd be really cool if you had race chips, and so after you've passed each obstacle, it
Mhm.
times you. Just like a simple thing that, like, yep, they made it through this obstacle. Yep, they made it through this obstacle.
Okay.
And so when people are tracking, I remember doing the toughest mudder, a 24-hour race, and they would have the timing chip once every lap. And so people could follow your progress So I think it'd be cool on OCR races. You could follow where your person is,
Hmm.
have an app where it's like, okay, this is my person, see where they're at, kind of like marathons do. And then
Yeah.
same on a ninja course in a gym, we have a person who has a button where they say complete. We use a Ninja Work system, which is really cool. But if it was automated, so it takes out the human error, that would be
Hmm.
even cooler.
Okay.
So just some different thoughts for you guys.
Yeah, more great ideas. I love how many good ideas we have for teams to potentially work on. To give a little bit more background for those that don't know the difference between OCR and ANW, American Ninja Warrior, and obstacle course racing. Obstacle course racing usually, to most people, will be the longer outdoor ones. Some of you might know it as a mud run where there's obstacles. So you're running 5K or longer distances, and you don't always have a good view as a spectator of what's going on. So I think your idea would be genius, Michelle, to see, okay, this person completed this obstacle and they're moving along at this place, would make it a great kind of improvement for spectators. And then for the ninja side of it, if you haven't competed in a competition like that before, what happens is with each completion, you need to track the time, because if the person doesn't complete the next one, it's whoever made it the furthest, the fastest. But when it's someone clicking a button, if they click the wrong button, or if they think the person is dismounted correctly, but then they fall back in, like there's so many ways for there to be error there. So how could you use that to improve? And I don't know if it's the same system, but the gym that I train at, there's everything's cabled with the buzzers and the starting
Yeah,
and the closing. Is that the case with what you're using too?
yeah,
And is there
ours is
opportunity to make
cable.
that like wireless?
That would be amazing to be wireless, like Bluetooth or something, and that'd be just so much easier. Like, hey, we can move this buzzer anywhere we want. We can move that buzzer anywhere we want. We don't have to worry about all these wires. Yeah.
Okay. Because it's usually like a start buzzer and end buzzer that are connected by a wire, correct? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So then if you're changing the course every week, then you have got to move that and all the cables around. So that's another really good idea for teams, kind of wireless buzzers for ninja competitions. I think you have
Yeah.
a lot of customers across the country and around the world
Right.
pretty quickly.
Lots.
Yeah.
And
So,
parkour, actually. So
oh
one
yeah.
thing parkour does is they'll do races where you have to tag a certain point.
Okay.
And so if you had like 7 buzzers
Hmm.
and you literally, or you could use it with Ninja too, where you have to tag a buzzer after each obstacle, your choice how
Okay.
you want to do it. But parkour, you literally, you run up this wall, tag a buzzer, run over here, tag this buzzer. So you could do it that way too. And yeah, if it was Bluetooth, wireless, whatever, it would be amazing.
Okay. Yeah, we had Lorena Abreu on the first episode. She's from Ultimate Tag on Fox.
Nice.
So I think we're gonna have to tell her that too, because she didn't bring it up. But I think that's a really good idea. And so for teams thinking about, yeah, how do you connect these different buzzers wirelessly? How could you maybe track data from that? Like how quickly, like who was the fastest on obstacle one versus who was the fastest overall? I think there's a lot of cool ways where that data and that kind of wireless technology could be not only transform the sport and make it more fun, but also make it more fun for the audience and people that are watching and listening. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we got a lot when you were talking about these last couple ideas. We got a lot of hearts. So I don't know if that's ninjas that are excited about having that in their gym, or it's teams that are like, oh, I think I know how I can solve that. But either way, I love seeing all those hearts for the ideas
Sweet.
that Michelle was sharing for her magic wand task. So one last question I want to share with you. You've conquered all kinds of obstacles, both on and off the course. You've been a great role model for so many people during this time. So what's one piece of advice that you'll share with our community around the world when it comes to perseverance? They're used to facing challenges with their robots and design, but we're facing additional challenges all around the world. What's your tip for persevering and continuing to conquer those obstacles, getting back up when you fail one, and moving forward like you have with your career with Ninja?
Yeah, for sure. I think one is not seeing failure as the destination. Failure is just a stepping stone. It teaches you, it grows you, it helps you become better. And so, I mean, like personally, so I used to ice skate a lot when I was a kid. And I love ice skating, but I hate falling on the ice. So I can do like a half turn, like a half jump turn. I
Mhm.
can do like a few circles, but I never got better than that because I just didn't want to fall.
Mm.
And, if you're more willing to take the risk, if you're more willing to, let go of your pride and
Yeah.
like, it's not easy having millions of people watch you and know that a lot of people judge you based on how you do.
Mhm.
um, keeping in mind, like, one, failure does not define you. This one part of your life does not define you.
Yeah.
Your love for your friends and your family, that's what defines you. Who you are is so much more than what you're doing in this specific project. And so anytime you fail, not letting that just get you down. It's okay to be sad, but not letting it get you down in the dumps.
Yeah.
And then two, kind of as I mentioned earlier, just listening to others and being empathetic. I think it's really easy to feel like our experience is the most important experience and no one understands what we've been through, or like, oh, if I haven't experienced it, then no one else has experienced it, or whatever the case might
Mhm.
be. And so I do feel like failure helps us listen to others more and be more empathetic towards people, because if we've fallen down, you know how painful it can be and you want to help other people when they fall down. And so as you're going through any frustrations and things aren't working well, keep that in mind when you see someone else going through that too. And just, I mean, it all comes back to love, just loving people well and learning and getting to know people, get to know another language, get to know another culture, share time with each other.
You nailed it. And teams, students out there, this is first is a great way for you to be able to do all the things that Michelle just said. I want to point out a couple of things there. One, I feel like there should be a poster that says, if you want to do great things on the ice, you have to be willing to fall on it, or something like that. I think
Right?
you created an inspirational quote there with what you
Yeah.
shared. Um, and then also empathy. I think the world needs it so much right now. Just being able to put ourselves in other people's shoes and trying to help, even if we don't have that problem ourselves. And so I think that for students, you are in a wonderful position to take the skill sets that you're learning and apply that to ways that can, to you might not seem like a big deal, but can change the world for someone else. And that's what's wonderful about this global community that is first. So I just want to say thank you, Michelle, again, for all that you've already done. You're such a great role model for the community. You're a beast, but you're one of the most humble people I know as well.
Oh, thanks.
And also, just taking the time to help us uncover some of the STEM behind Ninja Warrior is, I think, brought a lot of really good ideas for teams to look at. So if you didn't catch them all, rewatch this and go back to some of those. And if you're working on it, if your team comes up with a prototype, or if you have a couple questions, tag Michelle and I, and we'll see what we can do to either test out your prototype if you're that
Yeah.
far, or answer any questions you might have about that process. And again, if you're far away or if you can't connect with us, there's ninja gyms all over the world. They have very similar values to First in terms of camaraderie and supporting the community. So I'm sure they'll be more than happy to open the doors and answer questions, and then give you ideas for how you can improve your design. So thanks
Mm.
again, Michelle. Can't wait to connect with you again soon when we can get back to events and stuff.
Right?
But either way, it was great to have you virtually, and can't wait to connect soon.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks so much for having me. And, good luck to all of you guys on your projects. I know you'll have a great time, learn a lot from it. And if you don't have a ninja gym near you, just start building.
There we go.
It's always good that way. But yeah, thanks so much for having me. Good to see you.
All right, same. Thanks, Michelle. Talk to you later.
Yeah, talk to you later. Bye.